As I look around, I see mostly familiar faces, a few apparently the owl system is sufficient. That is a microphone.
Closer.
Are we good? Okay. So, yeah, it feels like a family gathering. But beyond that, and particularly given the current state of our society, the ability to meet with you and to go into silent worship means that when I leave, I take that with me. And that is where our larger gathering really makes a difference in my heart. So this morning, I do bring regrets from Tony. He and Fran had hoped to be with us, but in the busyness of their lives, that's just not possible this morning. So I'm very grateful to folks who were able to make the effort to drive this long way.
I'm sorry, Rosemary. They're not getting any audio, which is my problem, but I need help to fix it.
Tony says it's fine.
We are now. Now that she's using the owl, it's coming through just fine, I think, for me, certainly.
Would you believe we spent over half an hour here yesterday morning working on this to make it work smoothly?
That was yesterday.
Okay, so with gratitude and joy, I welcome you. Next, I'll invite Bev Jackson and then Pastor John Warner to extend their comments. And following that time, we will go into our worship. After worship, we have our speaker from Quebec City who will be online. And following that, we'll go into our worship sharing threesomes. And then we have a nice long lunch. Okay, so Bev.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all and those online as well. Some, even in our meeting, Pelham executive meeting, are curious as to why others are excited about the location of our gathering today. And the story is long, covering more than 200 years, but I'll be brief. With the help of notes from Arthur Dorwin's book on Quakers in Canada history, there are copies out in the entranceway, and we hope at least all the meetings have copies. They seem to disappear sometimes, but there are copies, complimentary copies there for the meetings. Beginning even before 1799, Pelham Quakers coming from New York, New Jersey, Buxton, and Lancaster counties in Pennsylvania met together as one group. In that year, Pelham monthly meeting was established under Philadelphia yearly meeting. Land was donated on the corner of Effingham and Welland Streets for a burial ground, and a succession of meeting houses were built, including the last one, the White Meeting House, in 1875. Around 1828, Quakers in America began to separate into groups differing in doctrine. Orthodox and the more liberal followers of Elias Hicks, or Hicksites. each emphasizing a different aspect of early Quakerism. As the local Hicksite group had the most members at the time, in Pelham, they kept the meeting house at the corner of Effingham and Welland and the cemetery, while the Orthodox relocated and ended up in the brick church we're in today. Since 1911, the Hicksite monthly meeting has been known as Pelham Executive Meeting. It has all the functions of a monthly meeting, but holds business meetings irregularly at the call of the clerk. A 100 years later, after the separation, when the Hicksite numbers had dwindled, Fred Ryan, the pastor here, invited the Hicksites to join them in worship. Maintaining their legal status, the Hicksites sold their building, and in 1929, it was moved from the cemetery property to Fenwick, where it is now a model railroad museum, which is in the news lately as the town wonders how to restore and maintain this historic building. The Hicksites entered fully into the life of this church. My dad was superintendent of the Sunday school for almost 30 years, and my mother played the piano for hymns during the church service. And I have many happy memories participating in activities here. Later in 1955, when the meetings of the 3 different yearly meetings that through the years had developed in Canada, they were reunited into one body. Canadian Yearly Meeting, or CYM, as we know it now. Pelham Friends Church declined the invitation and followed a different path. Pelham Executive Meeting, no longer comfortable worshiping here and having no meeting place, met in homes from Dunnville to Welland, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and later in more public places like Wise, and most recently in the Niagara Arts Center in downtown St. Catharines on the 1st and 3rd Sundays of the month. It's completely accidental, or perhaps spirit-led, that at the end of June, Pelham Executive had a chance to have contact with John Werner, the pastor of Pelham Friends Church. And here we are today. And before John, Pelham Friends gives us Pelham Friends' journey through the years since 1955. Kathy has now a member of Pelham Executive, who was born in that year, has some comments about her long family history here.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Jollis, and I was a member, as a child, I came to this meeting from the mid-50s through till the early 70s. So I was a child and a teenager in this meeting. So when I talk to all of you about having been raised in an evangelical Friends church, this is it. This is the one. My sister's here, Patty, and she also grew up in this meeting. But we were pretty well, we left when we were teenagers. Yeah, we left when we were teenagers. I've talked to a few of you. In case you might remember, my grandparents were Walter and Lillian Ryan, and they were friends here. My parents were actually married in this meeting. My grandparents were married in this meeting, and I believe my great-grandparents were married here as well. So from the Ryans, Lillian and Walter Ryan, this was a huge collection of Ryan people. My grandmother's maiden name was Easterbrook, so there was a large collection of Easterbrooks. And her mother's maiden name was Terraberry, so there was a group of Terraberries here. So when I came here as a child, I was related to almost everybody in the meeting. So I just felt like everyone was a cousin or an aunt or an uncle. So it was quite a family reunion every Sunday. And I can go back about 5 generations to this meeting on my mother's side, not on anybody else's side. I haven't been able to search back that far, but I have a very long history with this meeting. Cemetery is where most of my family is buried. And I think that's about it. It's kind of interesting to be back here again. It's been a long time since I've been in this building, so it's the drum kit is different. There were pews. There were 2 rooms here that was either a cloakroom or a Sunday school. And yeah, it's interesting. I think the ceiling's the same. It's just very fancy now. Very fancy. Anyway, it's very interesting to be back here. And I think that's about it. That's enough. Thank you. Kevin.
It is an honor and privilege to welcome all of you here into this space. I feel like I'm a guest. I came in 2020. Many have much longer history in this place, in this building, and in the Quaker tradition. As a kid, I went to Yellowstone National Park. And as we drove through the mountains and the forests, there were remnants of forest fire everywhere. Remnants of forest fire everywhere. And the interesting thing is that in those first years after a major fire, you have new vistas sort of appear. Lush growth starts to emerge. Young trees kind of start to grow out of those burned ashes. And then today, you think decades later, after that fire in 1988, the young trees are now large, mature, and growing. They house an entire ecosystem of animals and other plants. Now, visitors sometimes still look and feel that the Yellowstone they knew and loved is gone forever after those immense fires. But people say Yellowstone is not a museum to the past, not a monument to what had happened. It's a functioning ecosystem in which fire plays a vital role. You think of 80% of Yellowstone is lodge pole pines. Lodge pole pines have 2 different types of cones. One of those cones requires the heat of fire to open them up so that they can thrive. When you think of the way that Yellowstone Park has evolved and shifted and changed, we still call it Yellowstone Park. The same soil, the same terrain, and yet there's differences in the makeup of that park. And in many ways, when I think of the life of this community, there's some similarities to Yellowstone Park. You think of forged in the fires of separation as we remember those times of leaving, of parting ways, of going on 2 different journeys, and yet there's common roots. It was interesting to note that we both trace histories back into the late 1700s and that 1799 mark as the founding of the Pelham meeting. We both hold that. And I commented to Rosemary and Bev that in many respects, it's like we're a strange family that are coming together into the same place once again. We may be the weird family, I get that, but family all the same. And so it is again, an honor and privilege to welcome you all here. As was said, we initially joined the parting of ways. And again, my history may be a little fuzzy because again, I'm pretty new in 2020, but coming from that part when this community joined the Ohio yearly meeting that later became the Evangelical Friends Church Eastern Region. And there was a series of pastors, a number that came up from the States that came up and served in this Canadian location. And some of those pastors are dearly loved to today as we think back of the influence that they had and the life that they had and the leadership. The interesting thing, though, when you look at church communities in Ontario, there's very few that would be evangelical leaning and yet kind of rooted in that Quaker tradition. Very few. And so when people come and they move into the area They kind of look and they're like, what's going on over there? How did that, what is that church family like? What is that community made of? What is that? And so as this community has been shaped and formed, you think of the way that the plants emerge in Yellowstone Park, new trees come when there's the light shining through. We have people that have shaped and formed how this community has grown and changed and who we are today. And across the spectrum, we have incredible uniqueness and variance in the religious backgrounds of people that now call this community home. You could go through, and we have a few that would say that they have the Quaker roots still, but outside of that, we have Presbyterians, and we have Baptists, and we have Roman Catholics, and we have Macedonian Orthodox, and we have United Church of Canada, and all of these backgrounds that have shaped and formed people that now call this community home. In many respects, I find it parallels. I was talking to Johnny before and it shapes and forms where you have many different views and opinions and you can worship together. One of the things we like to say around here is that we emphasize unity, not uniformity. The idea that you can be for someone and you can love someone, and you can care for someone, and you can encourage someone without agreeing on everything. And in a world like ours, where polarized ideology constantly tears at the fabric of society, where families are constantly threatened to be torn apart, we need more unity rather than uniformity. And so when we, as I mentioned, 2020 was a time when the world shut down with pandemic, and this particular location went through a series of pivots and shifts and changes as we tried to live into who we are today and what we felt the Spirit was up to in our midst. And during that kind of season of years, during those COVID years, and moving out of COVID, we as a community voted to step away from that Evangelical Friends Church Eastern region. And so now we find ourselves not floating without roots. We have our roots. Our roots are clearly established, but we find ourselves kind of more independent than, tied to that yearly meeting. How are you? It's nice to see you. And so today we continue to operate with all of our mixed bag of backgrounds and traditions coming together. We talk about clearly Christ-centered. That's sort of a centerpiece for us. We remain rooted into sort of the Quaker testimony and some of that background, holding that open-palmed while we continue to pursue Jesus today and every day. And so kind of a uniqueness, but rather than, again, when we think about monuments to the past, we continue to be an ecosystem for spiritual development and growth in the present. Think similar to when you think Yellowstone as new growth emerges. I feel that some of that's happening even here as you think through changes and shifts. Some may say, oh, it's not what we used to be, and yet there's something new that's happening even today. So we're constantly trying to be cognizant and aware for the leading of the Spirit to say, what is faithfulness for today? Thanks so much.
Good morning, friends. My name is Junetta Chenard. I'm from Pelham Executive Meeting. I've been asked to, I'm not speaking loudly enough, that's unusual for me. I've been asked to lead us into silent worship this morning. And for any who may not be familiar with that tradition, you may give ministry out of the silence if you are so led. But we will begin with seeking